Welcome to the Brunch Club, a podcast brought to you by 3 dietetic and nutrition students and future dietitians who are true foodies at heart. Meet your hosts, Jenny, Stacy, and Hannah, who spit nothing but the truth around health and nutrition.
We are excited to provide you with body-positive, anti-diet culture and non-restrictive health facts and tips.
Join us with your cup of coffee or glass of mimosa and get ready to listen to us chew away nutrition myths, discuss hot topics, and share our journeys to becoming registered dietitians. Let's brunch!
Welcome back to the Brunch Club. Thank you to everyone who listened to our first episode and those who shared it. We really appreciated it. If you tagged us in your Instagram story showing that you were listening to us, maybe you got featured on our story. So keep on listening, keep on sharing, and be sure to send it to anyone who might be interested. So before diving into this week's topic, we wanted to invite you guys to ask us any questions. And so at the beginning of each podcast, we are going to be answering 1 or 2 listener questions. So we mentioned before in the previous episode, but I'm just going to say it again. Our nutrition Instagrams are Gen Nutrition, Nutrition by Stace, and Blontrition. You can also find them in this podcast description. So be sure to send in listener questions and we will be answering them. So you can look out for them in the next podcast.
Yeah, and don't be shy and don't think any question is a stupid question, small question, too big of a question. Do not worry. We're not here to judge you. We want to answer your questions.
Yeah, and it can be anything about our schooling, our lives, what we like, what we don't like, nutrition related, health, fitness, any topics are welcome.
So this week's questions, I believe they were sent to Stacy.
Yes. Believe the first one was sent by Jordan. Shout out to Jordan. Thank you for sharing. So she asked, what is our favorite meal to cook or eat? So the funny thing here was we all said the same exact thing. We love bowls.
So like burrito bowls, sushi bowls.
Exactly. Grain bowls. Anything you can just whip up, throw together. We love them. The second question was, what is our favorite nutrition class we've taken so far and why? So why don't we start? Go ahead, Jenny. What's your favorite?
All right. So my favorite was the institutional food service production class, which was crazy and very high intensity because it was chopped. So you were constantly, except you had all your materials and everything. So it wasn't you're just thrown out there and here, make something with peanut butter jelly and an onion. It wasn't like that. It was more organized than that. But you were constantly working with different people and different personalities. And that's what made that class fun and kind of interesting. And plus we all had it together. So anytime we were done, we would just all vent about our groups and how it went and just what we liked, what we didn't like.
Our grades. I don't think we were ever all in the same group.
No,
so we always
weren't.
Had something to talk about.
Yeah. It was funny because sometimes it'd be it was always Stacy was always with one of us. That's how I always felt.
But me and Jenny were never together.
Yeah, it was Stacy with Hannah, Stacy with me, and I'm okay.
Yeah, that was
fun.
Oh, and the one time, this is a side story, but one time because the chef Massey, shout out to Chef Massey, he would pick our groups. So we thought we would outsmart him and sit in different areas of the classroom. And we were yeah, we're gonna be in the same group. You sit over there, I'll sit over here. And then he was everybody's sitting 1, 2, 3, 4 in that little area, go together.
Right
and we're
next to each
wow.
Other.
Yeah. The one time.
We all split up.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
That was fun.
Oh my God.
We were so mad.
That was fun.
That was funny. What about you, Stacy?
So my favorite class was definitely my hardest class yet. And it was advanced nutrition. And that's basically the class on how all of the nutrients, what happens when you eat, when you eat food, where do they go? How are they processed, absorbed, digested, and what does your body do with them? And to me, that was super, super interesting. I love the science aspect of it. And I love how you can really see and learn what what goes on inside of your body when you eat. And it was extremely hard and challenging, but it was still one of my favorites.
Yeah. Jenny and I have yet to take that one. We're going to
Yeah, I'm
take
Luck.
it
scared.
this coming semester. I'm
Yeah.
scared, but I'm excited because I heard it's like a continuation of biochemistry, and that was hard, but
Yeah.
it was really interesting. And I also loved learning about what happens to food when you eat it.
Just
Um,
imagine like biochem, anatomy, physiology, and like basic nutrition all had a baby. It's advanced nutrition.
Advanced. Yeah, that's the
yeah,
cool
yeah.
part about this class. I feel like this is when you really start tying all those concepts that you were like, why am I studying this
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
together? So that is
Exactly.
exciting for that.
Yes. We are
What
looking
about
forward
you,
to it
Hannah?
and dreading it.
Yeah.
So mine, okay, this was hard for me to answer, but I think mine had to be, if I had to pick one, it would probably be life cycle nutrition. And I know that's like a beginning baby dietetic class, but it's just how it sounds. It covers from preconception all the way till nutrition in the elderly. And it was so interesting. And I think I really liked it because it's just a summary of nutrition itself, which is obviously I love it. And it was just so cool to see how it differs or relates throughout the life cycle and different nutrients that are essential depending on what point you're in your life. So I really loved that. Also had a great professor, so that helped.
Yeah, we had that one together also. And I think
Yes.
that class, a lot of people underestimate, but it's super important. Like we were just saying,
Mhm.
like, I wish I bought that textbook now because it really comes in handy. So,
I did buy it actually, and honestly, I keep it close by because I've referred to it several times when, let's say there's an adult who's asking me a question about menopause or something, I can turn to that chapter. Or if somebody is pregnant and they want to know, can I eat XYZ or what should I eat more of? I just flip to the one of the beginning
yeah.
chapters and it's, or with my grandparents, just go to the end chapters. It's really useful, so I'm so glad that I bought that book.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
jam
Mhm.
packed with info for sure.
Yeah, but we love all of our classes. And so for this episode, now that we finally get into the actual content, the juicy stuff, we are going to be laying out basically a foundation of what is a balanced plate. What does a balanced meal look like? Everybody talks about it. What's a balanced meal? Make sure you're eating balanced. Your physician probably asks you, are you eating balanced meals? But what the heck does that mean? And what does that look like? So, no matter where you are in your nutrition journey, no matter who you are, you should aim for following a balanced diet. And so it's very crucial for maintaining your healthiest self, no matter what you struggle with or what size you are. Everybody is encouraged to incorporate balance. And so while this is very basic, it's something that I feel like kind of gets cobwebs around it in our brain. A lot of people tend to forget, with all the misconceptions out there, and eat this and cut out this and don't eat grains and don't eat fat and eat more fat and XYZ. There's people don't even know anymore what they're supposed to be eating. So we're just hoping to go back to the basics and kind of try to make it a little bit more clear for you guys. So, first question, what is a balanced plate? So, for the average healthy individual who is free of intolerances and certain illnesses where they would be required to cut out certain food groups, for the average individual, a balanced plate contains whole grains, lean proteins, and fruits and vegetables. If you didn't know, the food pyramid is out. We don't use that anymore. The food pyramid is outdated. It was also so confusing. I
Long
remember learning
gone.
it when I was younger and I was like, what? I don't know. There was just so much going on. So now the balanced plate healthy guideline reference is called My Plate, and you can go to myplate.gov for a ton of useful information and resources. And it's just a great website to explore in your free time. So, when I refer to the balanced plate, oftentimes I'm talking about something called the chef's plate, and that is a model that I learned through the organization called Common Threads. It's what they use to teach the children in their Small Bites summer camp. And so it basically divides the plate into 3 sections: whole grains, lean protein, fruits and vegetables. But my plate, I don't really like how they make vegetables and fruits like two different parts. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't
I
really know how I
agree.
feel about that. It's kind of weird.
Because I feel
Yeah, I
like
don't like
when
that either.
it's kind of like they're putting like a specific portion on just fruits and then just vegetables, when
Yeah.
the chef's plate is more of a combination of the both, where it's like it's
Mm-hmm.
okay to eat varied amounts of both. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, it
I
causes
like
like a
the chef's plate.
barrier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I feel like it makes people think that they need to have a fruit and a vegetable with every meal. I don't know about you guys, but I don't do that. I feel like
No, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I feel like it's a little bit intimidating for somebody who's like just starting out and trying to figure out what balance means. So my plate has 5 parts. It has fruits, vegetables, protein, grains, and dairy. And so I don't know. I feel like, when I'm telling people about it at the beginning, it's way less intimidating to talk about the chef's plate because it has 3 different parts. So that's kind of what we're going to be referring to today, just because it's a little bit easier to understand. Um, and so, yeah, so the chef's plate has whole grains, lean protein, and fruits and vegetables. And the fruits and vegetables take up half of the plate. So, why do we need a balanced plate? What's the big deal? Why can't we just have Caesar salad all day and be fine and dandy? Well, as I mentioned before, all the various portions of the plate come together and play a role in our overall health. They all pretty much all come together and give us various vitamins and minerals. The vegetables and the fruits and the whole grains give us fiber, which is crucial, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But, you know, and I say this to everyone when they ask, should I cut out grains? Should I eat like more protein? And it
Mm-mm.
really depends on it really depends
Mm-mm.
on like your condition. If you have a certain condition that requires you, eliminate certain food groups that, your doctor has advised you to do. But for the most part, 99.9% of people really benefit from incorporating all of the food groups. And so it's really important to find foods that you like within these food groups and try to eat them on a daily basis because they do all come together to play a role in your health.
And they're
Yeah.
what keeps you full. Like, if you put
For
Mm-hmm.
all these
sure.
things together in a plate, it's what's going to keep you satisfied and full. And you're not going to be
Mm-hmm.
like, well, I ate that salad. Why am I still hungry? You
Well, because you
know?
just ate a salad, and that's it.
Exactly. Like, that's
I'll tell
just
you
eating
why.
greens. Yeah. Just eating greens is not going to make you like, quote unquote, healthy or more like
No.
nutritious.
No,
Exactly.
health is about balance. It's about incorporating each of the food groups. They are all important. It's
For
like
sure.
a machine. All the parts come together, even if they seem irrelevant. They all come together and play a role in the big picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you also think about building a meal, I know a lot of people always ask like, "Oh, so should I be concerned about like how many calories I'm eating? Should I count my calories?" Or what do you guys think about counting calories?
I think that, you know, there are it's different for everyone, and I think when it comes to nutrition, we say this over and over again. It depends on who you are. It depends on the reason that you are, for example, counting calories. But I also think that calorie counting is something that can become obsessive,
Mm-hmm.
and it there are many studies that show it is linked to certain disordered eating behaviors,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be very detrimental to overall health. But whereas, I think there's a time and place for everything. If you're concerned that you're, for example, not eating enough at all, maybe, you want to make sure you're eating enough to sustain yourself, then maybe that might be a good idea. But personally, I don't think, like, I don't count my calories. I
Mm-hmm.
don't recommend anyone to do it. And I think like some of the points that we're going to address coming up soon are kind of alternatives that you can use instead of counting calories.
Right. And I think I totally agree. Like Stacy mentioned, if you maybe are in recovery and you're, from disordered eating behaviors or chronic dieting, and you're being advised by a registered dietitian, and you've been under eating for a long time, it might be hard to eyeball it and determine, okay,
Yeah.
I think I'm getting like approximately X amount of calories like I should be. And so at first, it might be handy dandy to just count them and see how it's going. And then after you get an idea of what that amount of calories looks like throughout your day based on meals and snacks and all that, then I'd say you can stop. But like Stacy also mentioned, it can become the number game, which I mentioned in the first one, and I despise numbers. You know, people know how they feel. Some days you're hungrier than others, some days you're not, and it's okay. You just have to listen to your body. And that's also another reason why the balanced plate comes in handy, because if you're incorporating balance, you'll be getting essential nutrients and you'll feel fuller longer. But if you're depriving yourself of nutrients, then you're going to be hungrier. And so you'll be able to gauge, am I hungry because I've been restricting, or am I hungry because my body's asking, please give me more fuel? So counting calories can be useful if it is advised that you do it by a dietitian. But if you're, I don't know, also the American portion sizes are larger. And so if you've been used to consuming large plates of food throughout a certain amount of years, then you might need to, count calories just for a reference. Like, oh, okay, now I see why maybe I've been overnourishing myself, and this is what my plate should look like instead.
Yeah.
But I definitely say it's a temporary thing. It can become addictive. It can lead to disordered eating behaviors, and it is not something that I think everybody should do.
Yeah, and it's also important to understand where are the calories coming from. You know, calories can be contributed to by protein, carbohydrates, fat, and alcohol. So it's important to always look at the nutrition label if your food has that to better understand where those calories are coming from versus simply focusing on the number of calories.
100%, I agree. And one thing I did want to bring up, it's like I'm a huge YouTube person and I watch like a bunch of different type of videos. And one of the ones I'm like obsessed with is like the what I eat in a days that people post. And it's mainly because I just like getting like recipe ideas and like see what they're mixing together and like whipping up in the kitchen. But something I see in the comments a lot is people asking like, "Oh, like how many calories are you consuming?" and like asking these influencers, like these some of them are like fitness gurus or whatever the heck you want to call them. And then they're trying to mimic the exact like amount of calories and the exact amount of meals that they're consuming. And you have to
Mm-hmm.
remember that like your body is different than their bodies, and just because you start following exactly what they're eating does not mean that your body's going to look like theirs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
And that
you.
goes also for like people who, again, like the fitness gurus, I see them selling generic meal plans
Oh, girl,
and
don't even get me started.
they'll have like, this is the amount of calories that you should have. But it's like, okay, let's say I purchase that meal plan and so do you. We are completely different. Why in the world would we follow the same exact meal plan, eat the same exact amount of calories? That's just not, everyone is different and everyone has different needs. So I think that's something to think about for all of you out there who maybe you have done that in the past, or you're thinking about it, or that kind of interests you. Kind of just be wary of those meal plans and be cognizant of the people that you are purchasing these meal plans from. If they have a nutrition background, where did it come from? Are they registered dietitians? I think that's something to keep in mind also.
Right. And if people advise things and they just so happen to be selling that thing that they're advising, then also be wary of that, because I mean, our Instagrams are full of tips and tricks and facts, and we're not trying to sell you anything. I mean, eventually we will be selling our services, but if somebody's like, this shake is going to make you lose 20 pounds in 20 days. You need to buy it for me and me only. I'm like, I mean, it sounds tempting, but maybe they're just trying to tell me this crazy promise because they want to get their money out of it. So just be careful, like Stacy said. Who are they? And I believe that there are certain people who maybe recovered from an eating disorder or worked with a dietitian before, and they don't necessarily have to have credentials to be credible. But you just, when they don't have those credentials, you just have to be careful. Like, why are they eligible to tell me this, and why are they fit to give me this information? Where are they getting it from? And always fact check, and or ask
Yes,
a fellow professional
For
that you
sure.
trust.
so instead of calorie counting, how do I know how much food I should be eating? So one thing I like preach big, and I think we all do, is first always try to eat intuitively and be mindful, meaning like if you're hungry. I think we all know like if we're hungry. We get hangry, that means you're like super hungry. So don't let yourself get hangry. But but that feeling. So then like, okay, I'm hungry, I want to eat. And then when you start eating, you also start feeling like, okay, I'm full. I should stop. Um, so those cues, I think, are like the first thing you should always use when trying to decide like how much you're going to eat. If you also like want to know a little bit more about portion sizes and things like that, I'm not one to tell you to like bring out the little scale and bring out all your little measuring spoons, but a good like easy guide is literally using your hand. So if you look at your palm, the size of your palm can easily resemble the size of the amount of protein you should be having, which is usually like 3 to 4 ounces. And then if you ball up your hand in a fist, that's about the size that you should be having for grains. It's about like 1 cup. It just, it all depends. Like these are just so you can eyeball how much you should be having, but I think again, like step one should always be like determine how hungry you feel, and don't
Mhm.
feel like, okay, I had those 3 ounces of chicken, I'm still hungry. Don't feel like that's it. Like that's the rule. Like 3 ounces is the rule. You can't have more. Like you can. You just be honest with yourself.
Hmm.
Right. It's not like a strict thing, like you must follow this, it's the law. But if you're curious as to, general portion sizes, this is a good, easy way to check that.
Right, and we are born with these hunger and fullness cues. However, over time, we do learn to suppress them, and that is a major challenge for most to relearn. However, it is possible, and in future podcasts, we can possibly go over that topic. But yeah, like you said, Jenny, first it's important to always just listen to your body and try to really know when you are truly hungry and when you are full. Mm-hmm.
So, as I mentioned before, the balanced plate that we are going to be discussing is divided into 3 parts. So, if you visualize a plate, think about a circle that's divided into 3 parts. You have half of the plate as fruits and vegetables, a quarter of it being whole grains, and the other quarter being lean protein. Again, this is not a law that you must abide by. This is simply a general guide to show you what balance can look like on your plate. So I guess we will start with whole grains. What are whole grains? Well, what are grains? People think of bread, pasta, rice, and what is the difference between whole grains and refined grains? And why should we be eating whole grains? So whole grains, in comparison to refined grains, have the entire what's called the kernel, and basically, the whole grain has 3 parts to it. And when grains are refined, they remove 2 parts. But it so happens that the 2 parts that are removed are the ones containing the most nutrients. Not to say that refined grains don't provide you with anything and to never eat them. You can still eat them. They do have, a small amount of nutrients. However, the whole grains provide you with more. So trying to make simple swaps to make the grains you're consuming, try to make them whole grains. That will be beneficial to your body. So what are these nutrients I'm preaching about? Whole grains have more vitamin E, vitamin B. They have more fiber. They give us minerals, zinc, iron, magnesium. And the main thing that I want to emphasize is fiber. So they give us dietary fiber. Everybody talks about fiber. Why do we need fiber? Fiber provides us with a feeling of satiety. This is the feeling of satisfaction, not quite full stuffed, but you eat and you're satisfied. And this feeling is going to carry you through till your next meal. There is nothing worse or few things worse than eating and feeling hungry 30 minutes later. And so incorporating whole grains, because of the fiber and the fact that fiber provides you with the feeling of satiety, you're going to be able to eat something and carry on with your busy schedule and without craving another snack for, a longer period of time.
No more hangry.
Right.
Yes, no more hangry.
In addition to helping us feel fuller longer and carrying us through our busy days, fiber can also help reduce our risk for certain diseases like cancers, diabetes, and other health problems. And a big one is constipation. I think that about 95% of the population is constipated, and that's why everybody is so cranky because nobody's getting enough fiber. So you will be surprised once you start getting the right amount of fiber, how much better you will feel in that department. But on top of that, if you're not worried about that, fiber does help with reducing our risk for various diseases. So how do we know if a grain is whole? There are some tricky words out there. Some of these include 7-grain, multigrain, whatever, fancy grain, I don't know. These are not necessarily whole grain. You have to flip it around, look at the ingredient list, and you want to make sure that the very first ingredient says whole wheat flour, whole wheat, or whole grain, something along those lines. If it says enriched flour or anything else, it's not whole grain. That doesn't mean you can't buy it, but if you are looking to purchase whole grains, the first ingredient must say whole grain or whole wheat. Whole grains are super easy to incorporate because majority of us eat grains. So instead of white rice, you can try brown rice. There's also quinoa, which is fun. So if you're making like a vegetable stir fry, you can swap in brown rice. Oatmeal is a great whole grain. There's also, like, if you eat a lot of bread, you can have whole wheat bread instead of regular white bread, whole wheat buns, bagels, tortillas, whole wheat pasta. So it's really just about swapping out the regular refined grains that you eat on a regular basis and swapping them out for the whole grain version. So one myth about whole grains that I would like to bust right now is that all brown foods are whole grain. This is not true. So just because you see brown bread doesn't mean it's whole grain. So what do we have to do? We have to look at the ingredients and look at that first ingredient.
Another trick that I have for people who say, oh, well, I hate brown rice, I hate whole wheat pasta, like I just don't like them. It's very easy to do. Okay, so let's say you buy the whole wheat pasta and you still have your regular pasta at home. Make half and half, mix them together in the same bowl, put whatever sauces, whatever like you normally would make the food with, and try it that way. So you're getting half whole grain, half not whole grain. And over time, if you start to increase the whole grains that you are eating, you'll start to notice that there really isn't a difference, and you'll get used to the taste of it if you are very sensitive, because it doesn't taste bad, it doesn't taste different, it's just, you're not used to it, and when you're not used to something, it takes getting used to something else. So if you just kind of do it in moderation like that over time, I promise you, you will start to enjoy whole grains.
Right. And I think people try to go from 0 to 100, from A to Z, and they're used to eating a certain way, and then they're like, I'm gonna be healthy, and they change everything.
Yeah,
And
throw out
that
everything in the damn kitchen and like
no.
try to start fresh, and that's
Yeah.
not how it works.
Don't try to run when you don't know how to crawl. So like Stacy
That's a good
said,
one.
Yeah.
try to do it slowly and try to mix it. And also, it's okay if you don't like something.
Yeah.
If you can tolerate whole wheat bread, but you just absolutely can't do brown rice, that's fine. That's okay. You don't have to force feed yourself something that you don't like, but give it a try every once in a while, because you may like it over time. So yeah,
And fun
good
fact,
point.
your taste buds change every 7 years. So if you
Every
didn't like
7 years,
something 7 years
taste it
ago,
again.
you might like it again.
So no wonder I like cucumbers now. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, there you go.
I still don't like olives. Waiting for that to change.
Oh, I
Oh
love
my God.
olives.
Same.
So good. So next on our plate are fruits and vegetables. And if we refer to my plate, fruits and vegetables should take about half of our plate up. I think that we all know that fruits and vegetables are very important for our nutrition and our bodies, and they promote health. So I definitely thought that I was consuming more than enough of fruits and vegetables by having 5 to 6 servings a day. But in actuality, we should be having 9 servings a day. So don't freak out if you're not getting the 9 servings a day, because that's why we're here, guys. We're here to give you tips and tricks to increase your amounts of fruits and vegetables. But ever since I learned that, I just try to be more mindful and finding out ways that I can incorporate more fruits and vegetables to my meals. So we know that they promote health and we know that they're good for us, but how do vegetables promote health and how are they good for us? Well, fruits and vegetables contain phytochemicals, and phytochemicals are just basically biological compounds that can be found in fruits and vegetables and often associated with the pigment or color of the fruit and vegetable. So, for example, red vegetables like tomatoes, red bell peppers, watermelon, even contain lycopene, and lycopene often helps us with cardiovascular health. Another one is when we think of vegetables and fruits that produce a blue purple color, those often contain anthocyanins, which have shown to improve memory. So, your blueberries, blackberries, plums, eggplant, purple cabbage, all of those promote better memory. And of course, some of them contain antioxidants like blueberries. So, as you can see, the colors pertain a lot to the health and the nutrients that you're going to get from that fruit and vegetable. So another phrase we hear a lot when we talk about fruits and vegetables is eating the rainbow. So this is one example of why eating the rainbow is so important, because it will provide you with better nutrients for your body. With that in mind, it helps me to remember and think about finding new ways to add more fruits and vegetables to anything I make, and it makes my dishes look pretty, so it makes it more enjoyable as well when I'm eating. But you're probably like, how do I get all these different types of fruits and vegetables and consume it? I will tell you that one of my favorite ways is mixing up how you cook them and the type of dishes that you make. So, when I talk about how to cook them, I mean, like, don't always just think you need to steam veggies, because that just gets boring. And so, mix it up, roast it, steam it, saute, air fry, add it to an air fryer. My favorite thing.
Yes,
We'll get on that
Yes.
later. um, Mix it up and try out like different recipes with them. That'll make it one easier to try new vegetables and fruits even. And I'm always like trying to find like one of those farmers markets to go to, and I just want to like try every fruit that looks different.
Same.
um but yeah, so I think that's like one of the easy ways. And another way, okay, we all love pizza. Like, come on, who does not like pizza? And I think making like a flatbread and loading it up, and I'm talking like open up your freezer, open up your fridge, find every single vegetable and add it to the flatbread. I promise you, one, it tastes super delicious. And two, it's like, boom, I bet you have like half your servings right there.
I
yes.
love that. It reminds
So,
me, I just went to People Pizza the other day
oh, I love that
and they
place.
had a special on their pizzas, and it's like a flatbread pizza for those of you who don't know. And they have a decent amount of vegetables. And every time I go in there, I'm like, throw all the vegetables you have on there. And at the end, like I put balsamic glaze on top. Oh my God,
Yum.
to die for. If you live in Miami and you've never been, you need to go.
Yeah,
Delicious.
it's
What was it called?
It's P, the letter P,
Uh-huh.
pole. So it's like
Oh,
people, but people.
got it.
It's really good.
super yummy. Yeah. I've tried it too and I was like, wow, this is like amazing. But also with fruits, a lot of people are always like, well, like, shouldn't I not be consuming that much fruit because of sugar? And fruit contains sugar, but it is a simple sugar. And all the benefits, I was saying again with the phytochemicals, all of that that's within our fruit are better benefits than being worried about the sugar.
For
Right.
sure.
And
There's
anything in
also
excess,
like
of course.
fiber. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many more benefits and pros to having fruit than
Fruit.
trying
Yeah.
to avoid it because of the sugar content.
Fructose.
Yeah. Do
Exactly.
not be afraid of fructose.
Fruits are carbohydrates. And a lot of people, like for example, eating bananas, they're like, oh, well, it has way too many carbs. But it also has so many other nutrients, like you guys were just saying, that it's more beneficial to eat the banana than to not eat it because you're worried about the amount of carbs.
And nobody's going to sit down and have 17 bananas. But let me tell you, I will sit down and have 17 Oreos. The sugar in fruit is not the problem. That's
For
not the
sure.
problem in the world.
For sure.
Nobody's like, I got here today because I was having way too many fruit. That's not the problem, guys.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry unless you're shoving like packs of strawberries in your mouth every day. Like Jenny was saying, excess of anything is not good. But please. Everything's already so complicated. Don't make it harder on yourself and don't be afraid of the sugar and fruit.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
So there's actually a lot of different facts you can learn about each of the phytochemicals. So if you do want to know more about each of the different colors and what they contribute to your health, just Google phytochemicals in fruits and vegetables and a whole list will pop up. I'll also see if we can link a chart for you guys in our description for the podcast so you guys can
Mhm.
also have access to that.
So, moving on to the next section of my plate or the chef's plate, we have protein. I'm sure everyone is very familiar with what protein is. I'm sure you think of animal protein, you think of steaks and chicken, and protein is essential in our bodies. We need it. It plays a role in building our bones, muscles, cartilage, skin, blood. They're the building blocks for things like enzymes, hormones, and even vitamins. So, protein is super important. Also, by consuming a variety of different kinds of proteins, it's going to have a lot more benefits. Let me just tell you a little bit about the differences in types of proteins. How do people who have vegetarian or vegan diets, how do they consume enough protein in ways that are going to benefit their body? By combining many different types of the protein sources. So, for example, beans, even whole grains, legumes, soy, like edamame, all of these
Yum.
things have protein in them. Exactly. Tofu, there are so many sources. And when you combine multiple forms in one meal, you're actually going to be pretty equivalent to eating a piece of chicken, if not even better. You know, you just have to make sure that you get that variety and you are combining different sources. It can be a little more challenging, but it's definitely doable. I mean, that's why there are so many vegans and vegetarians in this world because it's possible. And for my meat eaters, I want to talk a little bit about the animal sources of protein and the main things that I like to look for when consuming animal products is being on the leaner side. And what I mean by that is consuming things like poultry, so chicken or turkey, ground beef that is low fat, so like 93% lean or higher is best, and steaks with little to no fat. So that pretty marbling that is in all of those steaks that are super, super expensive, um, that has a lot of saturated fat. What that saturated fat does in our body is it increases our risks for heart diseases, strokes, which are not beneficial. And you for sure can have that once in a while if that is what you enjoy eating, but it's not something I would recommend every day. I think if you are going to consume animal sources of protein, being on the leaner side is going to be more beneficial for you in the long run for sure. And also incorporating more fish into your diets. I think a lot of people forget about fish,
Me.
but it is such a great source of so many nutrients. Protein aside, it has omega 3 fatty acids, which are amazing for our health and our heart. Um, And a lot of people are like, oh, well, like, where do I go buy fish? Like, you can get it at Publix, but it can be very expensive if you buy it fresh. And I think it's really important to remember that frozen foods can be just as beneficial as fresh foods. I'm not saying go buy, like, the already made packaged thing that you just throw in the microwave for 30 seconds and it's done. I'm talking about like a bag of individually wrapped or frozen ahi tuna steaks,
Oh my God, so
codfish,
yummy.
yeah, things like that. And you may think it's expensive, but there are easily people who would spend $15-20 on a single piece of steak, and they would think twice about purchasing a bag of fish with possibly 4 or 5 servings in it for that same price. And in the end, by substituting fish into your diet maybe once a week, every other week, if you can, if you enjoy it will have more benefits to you in the long run. Like I said, the omega 3 fatty acids, and it's a leaner source of protein. Also, I think canned tuna is underrated. I personally love canned tuna.
It's so
Um,
good.
you can do so much with it, and people are like, oh, well, the sodium content can be really high, which, yes, it can, and definitely always check the sodium content. Like, for example, 140 milligrams, anything below that is considered low. And again, if this is something you're having once in a while, that sodium isn't going to make a difference in your overall diet.
Right?
Well, Stacy, you introduced me to those little tuna packets that are like flavored.
Yes.
Yes,
Those are
I
so
love them.
good and so easy to toss on like anything.
I bought them one time and I was so excited to try them, and then my brother ate them.
I
And
remember
I
you
never
saying that.
I never got to try them. I never bought them again.
Yeah, no, they're so good. I think the brand is like Bumblebee or whatever. But like I love it's like lemon pepper.
Yes, that
And
one's
if
so
I'm
good.
on the go, what I'll do to make my little balanced plate, I'll grab my tuna packet, I'll put some wheat thins in a little baggie, which I believe they are whole grain, and like I'll take a little snack of carrots or something with me, and you have your whole balanced complete meal right there ready to go with
Hmm.
you. So, another question I get about protein very, very often is how much should I be eating in a day? And the real answer is it varies from person to person. However, there is a general recommended dietary allowance, which is zero point 0.8 grams per kilogram a day. And you're like, what math? I don't want to do that. And I don't blame you. But in case you do care, that is the general guideline. But of course, if you're someone who works out, consistently every single day, you're lifting heavy weights, or even if you're someone who has a pretty sedentary lifestyle, obviously those two people are going to have very different requirements of protein. And it's just important to, again, listen to your body, and you can know the general guideline and you can maybe figure that out for yourself or ask one of us to do that for you. And of course, we would be more than happy to. Um, but just a little guideline that I like to go back to, like with what Jenny was saying with the portion sizes in comparison to our hands. For example, the size of your palm equals about 3 to 4 ounces of protein. For example, about 3 to 4 ounces of chicken will have anywhere between 20 to 25 grams of protein. So, to kind of put that into perspective for you. But again, I'm not recommending that you go around counting all the grams of protein that you're consuming. Just a
Right.
general little, way to get an idea.
I just
And
want to clarify,
yes, please.
it's zero point 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So you would take your body weight, convert that to kilograms, and then multiply that by zero point 0.8, and that would equal the total grams of protein you quote unquote should have in a day. Exactly. So,
So,
like for someone who, let's say, weighs 150 pounds, when you do that calculation for the amount of protein they should have in a day, it equals about 120 grams. And again, that number is going to fluctuate based on what you do throughout your day. But yeah, so just based on the RDA, that's what it would be for someone who weighs 150 pounds.
right. And then also keep in mind, like we've talked about before, you don't have to shove a bunch of steak in your mouth. Like, oh my God, I need all this protein. There are some whole grains that also provide you with a small amount, but they contribute to your protein intake throughout the day. And also beans provide you with protein. So if you're consuming a balanced meal, then you're going to have fruit and veggies and whole grains, and you're going to have maybe animal proteins with complementary plant-based proteins. So like, don't do the calculation and think, oh my gosh, 120 grams of protein per day, and then freak out and chug 5 protein shakes. Just remember
Right.
that everything adds up when you are incorporating balance. So it's easier than it sounds. Speed yourself
Yeah,
a little.
definitely. And something that I've been personally trying to do more of is instead of planning my meals around, like, okay, I have a piece of chicken in the freezer. What am I going to make with that piece of chicken? I've kind of been like reversing my thought process and thinking, I have all these vegetables. What can I do with all these vegetables? What can I do with these grains that I have? Because, like I mentioned earlier, combining different vegetables and grains, you can get the same amount of protein that you could get in a piece of chicken. So by trying to eat more plant-based, you'll definitely get in all those servings of fruits and vegetables that Jenny mentioned. And then, of course, if you enjoy animal protein, then have that too, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think I forget that a lot of times. Like, I literally forget like beans can be part of like the plant sources that are going to provide the protein for me. So,
Mhm.
and it's always good to think. I like the way that how you're doing it, Stacey, how you're like, okay, these are all the vegetables I have, these are the grains, because I also do that. I'm like, what is my major like meat source that I'm going to have? Okay, chicken. And then I try to like make the meal around that. But if you switch it and focus more plant based, you'll definitely probably hit those 9 servings.
Mhm.
Exactly. A common misconception about protein that we hear quite often, I'm sure all of us have heard this. You know, someone starts going to the gym, they're lifting a lot of weights, all of a sudden they start like chugging 5 protein shakes a day, eating 5 chicken breasts, and only eating all of this protein. And the truth around that is, yes, it's important to make sure you have adequate protein when you are trying to gain muscle. However, consuming excess amounts of protein actually is stored in the body as fat, you know, and that can put strain on our kidneys. So it's not essential to just overload your body with a bunch of protein because you think you want to gain muscle. It doesn't necessarily work that way. And, you know, I think it's important that all these bodybuilders and people who are getting into the gym that they should be aware of that, because it's not always the best thing to do for your body.
Yeah,
Right, and
all the
nobody
bro
talks about
science.
that. Oh my gosh. Nobody
Exactly.
talks about that. And just a little side note, carbohydrates are also um, essential in muscle repair
Yeah.
and all of that. So
And
that's just
so
another
are
thing.
like all of the vitamins and minerals found in the fruits and
Right.
vegetables. Like you need to recover and your body needs to get, you know, replenished, and it just doesn't do that with protein alone. So that's why
Right.
this the chef's plate and the my plate is so important.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So too much of anything, like we keep saying, is not always good. Even if it's too much of a good thing, is not always a good thing. And that's why we have a whole episode about balanced plate, because balance is really key. All right, so now that we went through each section of the balanced plate, you were probably feeling very overwhelmed if these sections are not part of your daily dietary habits. Or maybe you've been trying to incorporate these various food groups and you just feel like eating healthy is way too expensive. You don't know where to go, you don't know what to do. So, we're going to talk a little bit about shopping on a budget. So, I'm going to hand it over.
Yes. So, where do you guys like to shop? Where do you guys normally
Well,
shop?
I we were joking about this before, which is why I said I'm gonna hand it over because I usually end up waiting until we're like starving, and then I'm like, let me go to Publix and spend $1 million. Um, so love Publix, it's great, but for example, the Trader Joe's is about 15 minutes, 20 minutes away from me, and that's not that far, but I just don't let enough time like I said, I wait until we have like zero food in the house, and then I'm like, oh well, I got to get it now. So Publix is the closest,
Yeah.
but so don't use me as an example for this segment.
Well, I am like the opposite because I am a serial grocery shopper. Like I go everywhere basically, and not weekly, but I definitely have like my favorite that I hit every single week, and that's Trader Joe's. Like ride or die, sponsor me, Trader Joe's. I love Trader Joe's. But I also like I love Aldi's, I love Walmart, I love Costco. Sometimes Target has interesting things. I think they all have like a good mixture of things. Especially when you're looking for like very unique things. Um, I like Aldi's and Trader Joe's, especially because they each have their little brands that like, like Aldi's has like taco flavored hummus. Like you just can't find that
Yeah.
everywhere, and then Trader Joe's has like a whole like this could be a whole episode of me just talking about every little weird thing that they have different. I shouldn't say weird, different thing that they have.
Yeah, Jenny actually posts her shopping cart pictures on her Instagram in case you're interested in the
I
super
love
fun
that.
things that she finds. And she finds some really great things, and I've definitely gone and found them myself. And so thank you for that. Um,
Yes.
but
We could
like you
start a
said,
new grocery shopping business called Jenny's Cart instead of like Instacart,
Oh
because
my
Jenny's
those pictures
cart,
are
gosh,
beautiful.
yes.
Those
Thank
pictures are
really.
you.
beautiful. Anyway,
Thank
business
you.
idea.
But yeah, so like you said though, I also love Aldi's because they don't always have the same things. Like I think that's the whole purpose of that kind of store is they're always changing. And so it's like every time you go in there, it's super exciting. You're like, I don't know what I'm gonna find. And of
Yeah.
course, they have their consistent like fruits and vegetables and like the staples, but like the cool sauces and things that just and spices like the things that just make your food so much more exciting. They definitely have a really cool variety.
I just want to say, I made myself seem like I never go anywhere interesting, but I have been to Aldi's a few times, and I love the fact that their frozen vegetable section is so inexpensive. And it has, okay, let's say like broccoli florets. There'll be 4 servings in there. And I always get I love frozen vegetables. I love, love, love frozen vegetables. They're so convenient. They're already like chopped up and all that. So you just have to, shove it on the stove, shove it in the microwave, call it a day. So I just love them. They're quick, they're easy. And I was like, I always get them at Publix. So I thought, there's no way that this has the same amount of servings and it's way less expensive. Sure enough, it does. So that's one thing. If you go to Aldi's, it's probably like that at Trader Joe's too, but look at the frozen veggie section and you will be blessed.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Trader Joe's frozen veggies, like I think I have every bag of frozen veggies that they have just because it's just so easy. It's like mindless. Like just grab and make. Done.
Yeah.
Easy.
They're perfect to
Mhm.
always have on hand because, like you said, Hannah, when you are running low, and let's say you only have like, one thing in the fridge and one thing in the pantry, but oh, you open your
Mhm.
freezer and here's like 10 different bags of fruits and vegetables. It's always
Mhm.
super nice to have. You can just throw them in anything.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's another thing. I think, as I was talking about like the 9 servings of fruits and vegetables, do not go run and be like, okay, I'm gonna buy all this produce and then let it go to waste. So like
Right.
I like to pick out like just, maybe like 3 fresh produce, and then the rest I just kind of like stock up on some frozen ones because I'll be real, like, I cook maybe 70% of my meals, but still, like, somehow, like, I just don't consume everything. So it's just
Mhm.
like if you're trying to like save some money and not let things go to waste, definitely mix and match with fresh and frozen.
Yeah.
Right. You have
And
to be realistic.
it's hard when you're cooking for one, two, three
Oh
people.
yeah.
It's hard to shop that way. But something I definitely find helpful is kind of getting an idea of the meals I want to make before I go grocery shopping. Like I don't sit here and like plan out every single meal and every single side, like breakfast, lunch, dinner, but I just like pick a few staples. Like, okay, I'm gonna make this burrito bowl. I know I need like these essential items. Maybe I want to make this for lunch, and I'll like just get a little idea in my head, maybe jot down like in my notes on my phone a couple things I don't want to forget. And that way when I get to the store, I'm one, not aimlessly looking around having no idea what to buy, and
Mhm.
two, you will save money, because you all know, especially if you go to the store when you're hungry, do not do
Oh,
that.
don't do that.
You will
Don't do
fill up
that.
your cart and you will buy everything. You'll be ripping bags open in the store. Don't do that.
Yes. I'm like, donut holes, don't mind if I do. Little bites
Oh,
Yeah.
sounds
yeah.
great.
Oh, I love those little bites.
Me
Yes.
too.
So good. But yeah, just kind of have a little plan in your head before you go shopping, and it'll make it a better experience for you for sure.
Yeah, I do the
Yeah.
same. And I'll at the end tell you guys some websites and different pages I follow to get some inspo, but I definitely do the same. I kind of just look at like, okay, what do I kind of feel like having this week? And then I have a running list on my fridge. I have like a little dry erase board, and then I have like I
Me
just like
too.
pass it on to my phone. Yeah, and it's so easy. And once you have a list, like focus on that list, guys. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you want to
Yeah.
shop on a budget, focus on the list. And I know sometimes it's hard. Like last week when I went to Trader Joe's, and this is going to sound really weird, but they had this popcorn that was pickle flavored. And I was like,
Oh my God.
interesting. Yeah, I was just like, interesting. Like, I don't know how I feel about that. But you know what? $2.99,
Gotta
add
try
to
it.
cart. Yeah, I'm like, let me just try it. And it was all right. It's interesting. It's very like vinegary. So if you like that type of like flavor, um, go ahead, try it. So another way to be budget friendly is definitely eating in season. And with eating in season, not only are you going to get like the best price, but also the best like overall taste of that vegetable or fruit.
Mm-hmm.
So like July is right around the corner at this point, and so some things that are in season for July are apricots and blueberries and green beans.
Awesome. Yeah, nothing is worse than when you buy a peach, like for example, you're like, oh my God, this looks so good. It's gonna be so delicious. And it's not in season. So you take a bite and it tastes like literally nothing. Like
Oh my
that
God,
is
yeah.
the worst. So just kind of Googling what's in season right now. It's so simple and that can help you a lot. And it saves money because I don't know about you, but I'm not gonna eat something that doesn't really taste good.
For
Yeah.
sure.
What about some of your favorite items you found? We love these cool stores like Trader Joe's, Aldi's, but let's tell our listeners some of the cool things we found and maybe they can find them and give them a try.
Yeah, so I am a huge cheese person. Like cheese is in my cart
I
every
love
single week.
cheese.
And I like trying out like the weird cheeses. So places that have the best weird cheese for a good price is Trader Joe's and Aldi's. And Aldi's has this like little sample tray thing, which has like three different cheeses. And I think it's only like $10. So it's really inexpensive and it's like a cool way to try something new. And it's just easy to snack and it's fun. Like I like making cheese boards. I do them all the time. So it's one of my
Yeah, the one you
favorites.
recently made looked really good.
Oh
I
my
was
gosh,
super
yeah.
jealous
And
of that.
Yeah,
super
it looks
yummy.
delicious.
Yes. And then the other thing I like from Trader Joe's are their hummuses, but they have one that's the Mediterranean one. It's super delicious, super creamy. Like you have no idea. It's amazing. I highly recommend. And lastly, because I'm a huge coffee drinker, and at one point I was spending like maybe $10 a day on like buying coffee out because I was like getting more than one. So I was like, all right, Jenny, like calm down. You need to figure out a way to do this at home. And then I found Starbucks iced coffee, like the pre-made jugs that they sell. And you can find that at like Walmart and Target, I know has them. Publix has them as well. And I like the blonde roast because if you didn't know, blonde roast has more caffeine, and I'm all about
Yes.
the caffeine. So, so I just need one
Same.
cup. Yeah. And, like in the mornings, I'm not like rushing because I need to stop at Starbucks. Like it's just, you make it, you find a creamer that you like. Do not be afraid of creamer, and toss it in, and it tastes just as good.
Yes, for sure. I'm a big I bring I bring drinks with me everywhere. Like if it's not a bottle of water, I'll bring, like you said, a coffee, a tea, something. Like I like to have it with me because you never know if you're going to be able to just run out to Starbucks or whatever it is. And also you don't want to
Yeah.
spend the money. So it's awesome
Right.
Yeah.
to find things like that.
That's like one of the benefits that came out of remote schooling because there's a Starbucks at our school. And
Yeah.
let's just say Jenny knows. She was with me.
Yeah. We would always be like, we have a
Hannah,
break. Should we go to
Should we go to a
Starbucks?
yes,
snack?
Hannah would always show up with like her little matcha tea and like, oh my God, I want one.
Yes.
Like, let's go get one. So here we
Yes.
are, both spending money at Starbucks. Yeah,
So
it's a
being
problem.
quarantined or stuck at home, it's good. You can learn ways to survive without going to little convenient fast food stores.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
for
And
sure.
also something I did, I think this was for Christmas. I bought my boyfriend a cold brew, like a coffee maker thing, and it's like
Oh,
a
we have one of
jug.
those.
Yeah. And cuz like he loves cold brew and we would only get it at like a few places that have it. So you can make it easily in your house. You just buy the certain kind of coffee that you like and you just put the coffee, I guess like the grated beans inside this little filter and that goes inside the jug with water. Put it there overnight and you wake up and you have fresh cold brew and it's so inexpensive. Whereas if you go
Wow.
that, it's like easily $6. So
And
that's a
it's strong. We
very
have it,
strong.
and it makes it so, like one cup. I'm like, wow, I'm ready to go.
Ready to go. Yeah, for sure. Um,
Coffee is somehow part of the balanced plate.
yeah, it's in
It should
there
have
It
its own
hidden.
is.
section.
You know what? It supports mental health. Coffee with creamer, we gotta, yes, okay, actually, I want to mention because somebody had asked me this because I posted an Instagram post about the balanced plate before, and dessert is not included on it, but it is. It's not there because
Yes,
that's not what we're talking about, but desserts are always welcomed. Coffee with
Oh
creamer
yeah,
is always welcomed. So don't think that
definitely.
just because it's not on the little guideline, it's not welcomed. We are supporting our
exactly.
mental health as well as our physical health.
For
So,
sure.
just a
Which
side
brings
note.
me, speaking of desserts, I found these crispy little cookie thin from Aldi's and they are to die for. They are my absolute favorite now. And like I'm scared because like I said, Aldi's like their stuff kind of rotates and sometimes it's there, it's limited, and then next thing you know, it's gone. So every time I go, I've been like stocking up and buying like 3 bags because they're so good. So if you see them, they say I think the brand is Benton's. I have no idea what brand that is, but they are cookie thins. They're chocolate chip to die for. You gotta try them.
Yeah, it's on my list now. I'm going.
Yeah, and let's talk about some other little tips we have about food in general. So some of the things we touched on, let's just like briefly recap. Bringing things with you, bringing your drinks with you, or buying things that you can make at home to take with you is always super convenient. Buying frozen stuff, always having them in your freezer. That way you always have ideas and you can always have variety in your meals. And also, Jenny, I know you make some really cool things with your air fryer. You're always using that. Give us some
I
tips.
am obsessed, but like obsessed with the air fryer. Like when I first got it, I was literally telling everybody, I was like, throw away your whole kitchen. All you need is the air fryer. Like you don't need
Yes.
anything else. That's all you need. But I will say, one, if you're looking into them, I will say get one because I got one that's like for one or two people, and then I was like, wow, this was a mistake, because I use it so much, and sometimes like I want to make things so I have leftovers the next day, and it's just
Mhm.
not convenient in that aspect. So maybe look one that's like double like the serving that you would think like, oh, like I'm just one person, I only need the one that only does things for one. No, just
Mhm.
get one that does things for four. Just trust me, you're gonna be using it
Yeah.
all the time. So it just makes it a lot easier. Then you can save some for the next day and take it to lunch with
Mhm.
you. But I love it. I think it makes everything super crispy, super crunchy. Everything tastes 1,000 times better. And you can put like chicken in there, like frozen. Boom, pop it in there.
Yeah.
Makes it perfect, juicy. It's never dry. Like it's just every vegetable I have put in there is like amazing, amazing. So I highly, highly recommend it. It does take up a little bit of like, kitchen space. So just keep that in mind as well. But I think it's like you need it. Even if you're gonna put it on the floor, I don't know, find a space, but you
It's
need
worth
it.
it. It's worth
It's
it.
worth it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which one do you have?
I think it's like the As Seen on TV one that they sell at Target, and I actually got it for Black Friday, and I got it at a like really good deal. I think it was like $30. It was not
What?
expensive. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I didn't
I
even get
got
it on Black Friday. I just
mine.
got it that weekend.
Wow.
Mm.
I got mine from Walmart, I think, and I think it's the Ninja brand, and I think it was like $100, and that's kind of like the average price that I've seen for, the average size one. It's not too big and it's not the super small one. So, like, I think that's kind of the general price range of them, but wow, $30, I would have
Yeah.
bought like 5.
But mine again, it's small, so you're
Yeah.
right. The average, like the ones that are like average priced, are definitely like around the $100 range, but I think they're super, super worth it.
Yeah, definitely. And something I made in there not too long ago was Brussels sprouts, and they were
Oh
frozen.
my God,
Threw them
amazing.
in there. Oh my God. Like, I'm not a huge Brussels sprout fan, anyways. Like, I don't think anyone is,
I
but
am.
No.
What?
I am a Brussels sprout fan.
I love them. Extra
That
they're
was a
so
crispy.
group name,
good.
the
Yes.
Brussels.
Yeah,
Yes,
they're
yes, yes.
delicious. You gotta try them if you
Yeah.
haven't before. Definitely do it in the
Yeah,
air
Brussels
fryer.
sprouts from the air fryer are, if you don't like Brussels sprouts, you
You
will
will.
if you try them from the air fryer because they are so good with some goat cheese or something.
Oh
Oh
my
my
Ooh,
God,
some
girl,
gosh.
balsamic,
yes.
some balsamic. Ooh,
Yes. Balsamic glaze, vinegar, toss
yes.
it.
We
Sounds
have to end the
so
podcast
good.
right now. I'm hungry. I gotta
Right?
go.
Yeah. So when I'm trying to come up with like, recipe ideas or things I want to make, there's a couple of like pages I go and kind of check, see what they have. And so one is Tracy Joe's on Instagram, and it's just like at Tracy, like TracyJoes, Tracy Joe's. And she basically puts like, I want to say on average, it's like 5 ingredients, and it's usually everything from Trader Joe's. That's why the last name is Joe's. Um, but everything's from Trader Joe's, and it's like I said, on average, 5 simple ingredients, and every meal is like super yummy and super fast. So I like that. This is a blog I follow. It's called The Every Girl. They have a little bit of everything on there. But if you go under their food and drink section, they have all types of recipe ideas, like 15-minute recipe ideas, 3 ingredient recipe ideas. They have one that's like, maybe you don't really know how to cook and you're kind of like, well, I want to start now. They have one article called like, want to teach yourself to cook, start with these recipes, super easy to follow. Love them. They're great. And then lastly, budget bites, only because one, super flavorful recipes, and everything on there is super budget friendly, and you're not going to have to spend $50, because I feel like that's another thing too. People are like, yeah, well, I look up recipes and I have to buy 300 things I didn't have just to
Yeah,
make one meal. And sometimes things are like, like I used to do that at the beginning. I'd be like, oh my god, I want to make this meal, and I'd buy all these seasonings and all these spices, and it's like things you can only use for very like specific meals.
right.
Right, like
So
you'll never touch them again.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think keeping it simple and finding like, websites and things that keep it simple will help a lot.
And
Um,
on I think another really helpful thing that I've started doing was using these apps called one is called iBotta. It's IBOTTA. Another one is called Fetch Rewards, and Jenny just recently told me about this one called Drop, and they all help you save money on your groceries. Like iBotta and Fetch, for example, just save your receipt, take a picture of it, and it has like select items that you get money back for. And like, let me tell you, I have gotten over $100 back from groceries, and it's like so simple. All you do is scan your receipt. Like, you're gonna throw it in the trash, you might as well get some money back for doing it. And it definitely helps. And Fetch Rewards, same thing. It's like you kind of build up these points and you can get gift cards, and it's definitely worth it. It may be kind of annoying to do, but definitely do it if you're looking to save some money.
To touch on the Drop app real quick since we mentioned it.
okay.
Um, the thing with the Drop app is you get to pick basically like two places where you're going to spend the most money, and you kind of attach that to your debit credit card. whichever you use, and then you get points. And then with those points, then you can trade them out for gift cards. So of course I have Trader Joe's on there. And then I also have Starbucks because I used to go there a lot. So I was making points. But now that I, really don't, I still have Trader Joe's, and I just checked and I've been racking up them points. I have like a $10 gift card already. So yeah.
That's awesome.
There's this YouTuber. He actually wrote a book, but I found his YouTube channel, I think before he had written the book. His YouTube channel name is Avant Garde Vegan. His
Ooh.
name is Gaz Oakley, and he makes the best looking. I mean, obviously, I've never eaten anything that he's made, but it looks delicious. And he's vegan, but oh my gosh. And he also has some videos about delicious vegan meals on a budget. And he teaches you, I don't know if he's a chef, he may as well be, because I mean, the stuff is delicious. Like, I'm looking at it right now, and I think even meat lovers would eat any of this without a problem. So, anyway, if you guys want to look at him, he's Avant Garde Vegan on YouTube, and he just makes delicious stuff. So if you're the type of person who loves being in the kitchen, I think you'll definitely like his channel. And you don't even have to be vegan, but you don't have to be vegan to eat a few vegan meals every now and then. I think it can be fun, and that also involves variety. So that's another good way to eat some different things that you wouldn't normally eat. So he has a lot of great recipes and videos. So definitely
Sounds
check him out.
super yummy. So I know we threw a lot of information at you guys today, and there is a lot to take home and probably like go back and like listen to again. But one thing I think I want to encourage everybody is to maybe make like one small goal. So whether that's maybe like swap out one, I don't know, like maybe swap out like your white bread for wheat bread and try that out for this week, or maybe try to add one extra like serving of vegetables to your dinner this week. Those little things add up, guys, and they really help. So I encourage everybody to try something new this week and set a goal for yourself.
I love that. And I think the more we practice, um, the easier it becomes. And like with anything, the more times you do something, then it will become a habit. And just like with eating, the more you incorporate all these servings of fruits and vegetables into your meals, it will become easier and more enjoyable.
Right. And remember that eating is supposed to be a pleasurable experience that connects us to ourselves or our loved ones. And so, really explore these various food groups, items within these various food groups that you enjoy. And remember that we are doing this because of all of the benefits and nutrients that these foods provide us with. It's not to fit into a pair of pants, it's not to look good for an event. It is for our bodies to function properly as designed so that we can be our healthiest self. Thank you guys so much for listening to our second official episode. And remember, we encourage you to follow us on Instagram. We will include our Instagrams in the description for this podcast. So Jenny's is Gen Nutrition. We have Nutrition by Stace, and then Blontrition. You can find them again in the description for this podcast. So we will be accepting listener questions and featuring them either anonymously or not in some of our upcoming episodes. So feel free, don't be shy, and reach out to us and share that you're listening to our podcast. Share it on Instagram, and we will be happy to see that. We hope you enjoyed. Again, reach out to us if you have any questions. See you next time.